So for my first question, could you just tell me about your career as a performer?
Oh, Lord have mercy. That's been so long ago. Let me see. Where do I start? I grew up in Ypsilanti, Michigan, and it was a small town right next to Ann Arbor, where University of Michigan is. And I took dance from almost from the time I could walk. I had to take ballet in order for me to be able to take tap and jazz. And so I always took ballet, tap, and jazz. That was long before there was hip hop and long before there was contemporary, as you guys call it. Then I liked dancing, but I was kind of undecided as to whether I wanted to do this because it was really not a career. No one really thought of it in my little town as a career. So when I graduated from high school and I went to Spelman College in Atlanta, I joined a dance company there, and I got paid to dance. And I became the ballet mistress for that company. It was called Callan Law Performing Arts Company. And for the first time, I realized I could possibly have a career doing this. And so when I finished at Spelman, when I finished my bachelor's degree, I decided I was going to go to New York. But I knew the only way I could go to New York was to go as a grad student somewhere. I knew my parents weren't going to help me just go to dance. And so I went to Teachers College, Columbia University. And when I got to New York, I pursued dance. I stayed in school, but I was dancing. And I got lucky. I got a show that I made very little money, but it had these people who became stars, people who became major stars on Broadway. And I began working, but I was still trying to finish my grad degree. And so I was told that I had to make a decision. Either I was going to go to graduate school, they were going to give me a scholarship, or I was going to dance. And I decided that I was going to dance because I was doing a show that was supposed to go to Broadway. And when you're young and foolish, you make decisions like that. And I turned down the scholarship for this show that was supposed to go to Broadway. Well, the show never went to Broadway, but I made lifelong friends with a couple Tony Award winners, Drama Desk Award winners, and I just loved dancing. I had no interest in speaking, singing. I just wanted to dance. And all of a sudden, I could see that it could be a career. And I worked at the Ailey School under a guy named Nat Horn, a jazz teacher. And I began working. I began working in New York City. And so even though I turned down the scholarship, I was working as a dancer. I was traveling. I did Black Nativity in Italy. I did Bojangles at a Mas Rep. I taught contemporary in Guadeloupe. I did Guys and Dolls with Debbie Allen and Richard Roundtree and Leslie Uggams. I did My Name is Alice. I just got lucky. I did Arms Too Short to Box with God in Paris. And I did the Tap Dance Kid. I did a tour of Chicago. I really, really enjoyed it. I really liked it. But in the meantime, I was married and I got pregnant. And so there was a period where I couldn't dance. So I went back to Teachers College and asked if I could have my scholarship back. And they gave me back the scholarship and I was able to finish. While I was finishing my master's at Teachers College, I worked at a school called Northside Development Center, Child Development Center. And it was a school that was started by Mamie and Kenneth Clark, the people who did I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there was a study of dolls, of African American dolls. And it showed that self-esteem was so low among African American children that they never picked the black doll. They always wanted the white doll. So they were really at the forefront in education. So I worked at that school while I was pregnant. They gave me back my scholarship at Columbia. I finished. And then I went back dancing and singing. I worked in the public schools in New York City. And then I ended up working for a place called the Arts Connection, where I supervised dance teachers all over New York, all over all the boroughs. And at the same time, as luck would have it, I got selected to work on Broadway in The Tap Dance Kid, and I was the dance captain. So I was basically working day and night and trying to take care of a kid. But it didn't feel like work. It really didn't feel like work. I had so much fun. Finally, I decided that I needed to have something a little bit more settled. So I moved to Florida and worked as a choreographer at the University of Florida, where I choreographed Merrily We Roll Along and A My Name is Alice and A Misbehaving. And then my mom got ill. I went home for a little while to take care of my mom and my dad. And then I got a job in Detroit working at a theater. And then I decided that I needed to begin to think about settling down. And so I came out to Los Angeles. I applied for a job at Los Angeles Unified School District. I got the job and I worked at Holmes Avenue Elementary School in special ed. And the principal there supported my arts program. He let me create an arts program from scratch.
Wow.
And so I was able to create an arts program. I taught tap, ballet, and jazz, a little bit of contemporary. And I stayed at Holmes Avenue until the position opened up at Milliken Middle School. They were looking for a dance teacher. And so the principal at Holmes Avenue said, okay, I'm getting ready to retire. I'll let you leave now. So I left, transferred to Milliken, and started the dance program there. There was no dance program there when I went. And I started the dance program there. And we had, I became friends with some people in the California Arts Project. So I worked with them in the California Arts Project. I built the dance program at Milliken so that we had ballet, tap, jazz, contemporary, hip hop, and what do they call it? Traditional recreational dance. I built 3 studios at Milliken. And the principal was so supportive. Norm Isaacs was so supportive of the arts. I was able to bring in guest teachers from the Ailey Company, from Dance Theater of Harlem, from Broadway. I had 3-time Tony Award winner Hinton Battle come and teach for me. Yeah. Sarah Marshall, who's known all over the world as a Dunham specialist and drummer, she taught for a while. Her husband taught for a while. I really got lucky. People really gave back. Had a soloist from the Ailey Company come, Stephen Smith. But the biggest thing was I was able to build a program from nothing. And it was so gratifying to see the kids. So gratifying. And then in the midst of that, I got selected to do the Academy Awards as a dancer. So I did the Academy Awards under Otis Salid. And that was when I decided, okay, I'm done dancing. I'm a little too old now. Time to hang these shoes up. And so under Otis Salid, I did the Academy Awards, but I was able to bring my dance class to rehearsal, to watch a rehearsal for the Academy Awards. And since that time, I stayed at Milliken a while. While I was at Milliken, I finished another degree. I finished a master's of science in educational, educational leadership at Pepperdine. And I kind of, I went back and forth, and I decided to go ahead and pursue being a principal. So I was principal while I went back and forth and decided I wanted to be a principal. I don't know if I wanted to be. Maybe that's a strong word. I got called to take a principal's job. And so I said, oh, okay, I'll do it. So I went to work at Champs Charter High School as the principal. And then, and we had built, I had helped write that charter. So we had built a really good performing arts program. And so then I went from there. I got a call from Cortinas, the superintendent at that time, and I was asked to go to a elementary school and build an arts program there. And he basically said, there's no arts program. There's no arts in that area. You're the person for the job. And I kind of hemmed and hawed because I had been in high school. I had been in middle school. And now I was going all the way back to where I started in elementary school. And, you know, it's a little scary to take on a job that you haven't done in 25 years. So I went back to elementary school after I decided there was a definite need. I went back to elementary school and I built a program at Carlos Santana Arts Academy. We opened as Valley Region number 12, I think it was, because you don't have a name initially. And I called around, emailed around to a number of people trying to get somebody to say they wanted to allow us to name the school after them. And people didn't really respond quickly. But I got a call one day from Carlos's office, Carlos Santana. I sent an email to everybody on his webpage. And somebody read it and called and said, we think you're a good match for us. And so we named the school. We got permission to name the school after Carlos Santana. And Carlos has supported the school since it was built. He immediately gave us $15,000, and after that he gave us $15,000 every year to keep the arts program going. So I had the luxury of having in elementary school a full music program, a vocal program, and an instrumental program. And then I cultivated a relationship with Versus Style and the Rosenthal Foundation. So I was able to have an after-school hip-hop program and a summer hip-hop program and a ballet program. And then I was able to build a relationship with Syncopated Ladies. And they came and did tap for free. And so it was wonderful. It was wonderful. It kind of saddens me now with the pandemic because it's really hard for those things to happen. But, you know, they still have an arts program and the new principal is really trying hard to keep it going. I'm retired and I'm enjoying my retirement. I'm working on a doctoral degree at UM. So that's it. There's nothing else to tell you.
Okay. So, and it's crazy because my other question was, how is your career as an educator? But I know you pretty much had summed it up already. But I don't know. I was gonna ask something else about it. I had a question and slipped. So was there any like as being an educator, was there any I don't know if this is kind of personal, but this is just a question that came to mind. But was there any other unjust as being a black woman as yourself? Anything like that has ever happened? Being an educator in that field and.
You know, people make assumptions about you as a dancer. Mm-hmm. You know, they assume that as a dancer you don't have any education. When I was coming up, people didn't necessarily go to school and dance. You kind of did one or the other. And sometimes the assumption was that maybe you weren't so sharp. Um, I don't think it's that way now. I think a lot of dancers now go to school and get degrees in dance. But you still have dancers who have always danced, who are phenomenal dancers, and who, for whatever reason, decided never to go to school and went straight into the dance world. It's a wonderful career, but it is a hard career. As an educator, people, you always deal with some racism. You always do. There are parents who walk in the door, and when they see you, they assume that you are definitely not the principal. I've had people walk in my office and immediately start talking to whoever they thought was the principal, and that person was usually the older white lady in the office who worked as my assistant. And she would laugh, and I would laugh. It upset her more than it upset me. You know, you deal with those microaggressions on a daily basis, and you can't get upset 24/7. You just can't. And it's not that they don't bother you. It's not that it isn't irritating, but you have to figure out how to address them and how to move beyond them. And you have to understand that that person's problem. That's not your problem. You know, I had a lawyer come into the office and talk to everybody but me. Everyone but me. And people were astounded. And one lady asked me, she said, "Does that happen often?" I said, "Yeah, but it's no big deal." I've had people say to me, "What is the problem with saying the N-word?" I say the N-word to all my friends. Why are you making this such a big deal? You know, people make assumptions. People make assumptions, very hurtful assumptions. But you have to move beyond that. You know, someone asked me, why are you working so hard? And I thought about it, and I realized that it went all the way back to the way I was raised. My parents raised us, all three of us. Their idea, no, what they told us, what they taught us was, you have to be 10 times as good as everybody else. It's not enough for you to be good enough. You have to be 10 times as good as everybody else. So when other people would say, "Oh, it's okay, I got a B or a C," that wasn't good enough. I had to get an A. And I really stayed like that until I got to adulthood, really. Until I got past my second master's degree. That's when it changed, because you realize that you have priorities. You know, when you're working a job and going to school and raising kids, guess what? The kids, your job, those two things come before you going to school. And you have a limited amount of energy to put into school. And so you realize you have to prioritize. And so sometimes you have to take that B and be happy. And just move on. So, you know, you run into those microaggressions all the time. People are always, I find here in LA, sometimes when you go to meetings, there's only you. There's only one or two Black people. And sometimes you meet with people who basically, you know how you work in small groups, and you're in a small group and then people take the small group over. And, there were times when I would feel like, well, I need to say something. Then I thought, no, she can take it over if she wants to. I don't have to prove anything to her. I have my accolades. I don't need, this is not, no. But people, when you're like that, people assume, oh, she doesn't know anything. She's not well read. Oh, I wonder where she went to school. And I think the pieces of paper are important. I think the degrees are important. But I also think that that's not enough. That is not going to that's not going to ensure that you have a job. What's going to ensure that you have a job is your character, your work ethic, your charisma.
Mm-hmm.
There are all these other things that come into play. It's not enough just to have a degree. It's not enough just to have multiple degrees. And I tell people that. And people assume, oh, she probably doesn't have a degree. I got all them pieces of paper. But that's not really what makes the difference. You got to be committed, excited. You have to have something unique that makes people want you. And you have to give your all. Once they hire you, you got to give your all. So having the piece of paper is not enough. Having the teaching credential is not enough. Having a degree from Columbia is not enough.
Oh, okay, that was it. Okay. So this is my last question. So did you see yourself as an art activist in any way?
Yeah, I thought about that a lot because when I think of arts activists, I tend to think of Patrisse Cullors, one of the founders of Black Lives Matter. She was my dance student in middle school. And I just think she's a consummate arts activist. For me, I think that I see myself as an activist because I'm committed to making sure everyone has access to the arts. That it's not only the kids who can afford it. Mm-hmm. It is not only for the kids who have high grades. It's not something we give them extra. I think that every school I've been at, I've built, created, maintained high quality, standards-based arts instruction for everybody. And that's no easy feat. But when you see what happens to a kid who engages in the arts and they have nothing else going for them, nothing is going on at home, there's no support, when you see a kid like that engage in the arts and flourish, you see the power of the arts. And I've had kids who just naturally have a talent. I had one little boy who taught himself Bohemian Rhapsody on the piano. He got a YouTube video and taught it to himself. He would never have been able to do that had we not made sure he had access to a piano and had time to actually practice on his own. Santana gave us a guitar to give away. And we had a student who taught herself guitar and was good at it. And she was not she didn't look like your run-of-the-mill artist. She did ballet. We would do an arts assembly at the end of the year. Well, she was in the ballet class performance. She was in the hip-hop class performance. She was in the rock band performance. She was in, you name it, she was in it. Everything that we had, she played 3 or 4 instruments. But she really found out that she loved the guitar. And towards the middle of the year, her dad died. And then her mom wasn't around. And her grandmother died. All of these things happened during that year. And what kept this little girl going was the arts. She was so committed and so focused. And it kept her coming to school. It kept her being a part of something bigger than her. And when you see that, when you see that rise up in kids, you see how important it is. And I say that I see myself as an activist because everybody is always trying to denigrate and devalue the arts. Well, as long as we have reading and math and all the kids reclassify and all these, as long as we have all of these things, it doesn't matter that every kid has access to the arts. Or we have this idea where, well, we'll let them take dance and then they don't get any other art form. Or we'll let them have theater and then they don't get any other art form. Or we'll give them 6 weeks. And when you look at it and you realize that kid may only have that art class for 6 weeks for the entire time they're in school, in elementary school, from K through 5th grade. And so it's really, you really have to be committed. You have to go beyond what the school district provides if you want to make sure that every single kid has an opportunity to engage in music, dance, visual arts, and theater. Every single kid, you have to go above and beyond to make that happen. You have to be committed. You have to see that when you take that away from some kids, oh, well, he can't go to dance today or he can't go to theater today because he didn't do well on the math test. When you use it that way, or you say, well, I really have to do this, this, and this, and something's got to give, so we can't have arts. You would never take away reading or math. So why is it okay to take away the arts?
Right.
Why is that acceptable? Why is that okay? And so that's why I see myself as an activist, because I have always and will always fight to make sure that every single kid at least has access. We are in an entertainment town. We're in an entertainment town. When you take away that access, you are crippling that child. You're taking away a possibility for a kid to think outside the box and work in the entertainment industry in this town. And I think that people need to understand that. You know, when you go to affluent schools, they always have the arts. They pay extra for the arts. They do whatever they need to do to bring the arts in. That should tell you something. If it's valuable for them, then every single kid should have it. Every single child should have access. And so that's a fight. That's a fight you have to have. You have to fight to make that happen. Because that results in kids who are creative, who are innovative, who are change agents. They see something that we don't see. And that's important. Those are the kids that we want to be developing. We want to develop these kids who are going to become really valuable, contributing citizens and make our country better and make true change happen.
That was I really appreciate that, just talking to you. I know it said we're running out of time on the Zoom. I don't want to cut off while you're talking, but I just love to hear you talking, how you're talking about, you know, just you know, not even worrying about like just, what people say about being black and about being an activist. It was really great words to hear, and thank you so much for this time with me. I really appreciate it. I don't want to take any much of your time or have the Zoom cut off on you, so thank you again. So yeah, that's all I have to say. I don't know if anything else you wanted to add before. No.
Okay, what is this for?
The town hall, the documentary team. Well, let me stop the video.